Here we are continuing with lesson 22, and I wanted to walk through the exercise A right here. The instructions say to reduce these rational expressions to lowest terms and identify the values of the variables that must be excluded to prevent division by zero. So let me do a simpler problem over here. I want to just do a couple of things. First, imagine I had this fraction 10 over 25. And we can reduce this, of course. I'm going to rewrite it by factoring the top and the bottom. Okay, I wrote it out in terms of its factors. And then you may recall just that now that I have a factor on top that's equal to a factor on the bottom, I can cancel those. They really divide to equal 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So really I'm multiplying 1 times these remaining factors, and that leaves me with 2 divided by 5. So I've taken this rational expression, which happens to be a rational number, and I have reduced it to its lowest terms here. And I have this strategy of factoring and then canceling out. So the first thing you might say is, okay, well, look, there's a common factor, x plus 1 on top, x plus 1 on bottom. Let me cancel those. That's not allowed. And it has to do with the fact that the top and the bottom are not completely factored. We have these extra, this plus 2 and this minus 1 hanging off the bottom, okay, off the ends of those top and bottom. So let me do another simpler problem. Let's say now I had 5 times 2 plus 1 divided by 5 times 5 plus 3, okay? Right? Surely I can't cancel these 5s. And let's just prove it to ourselves, right? Let's imagine what this equals. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1, that's 11. And on the bottom I get 5 times 5 is 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay? 11 28ths. There's no reducing that. So that is what this rational expression equals. Now imagine if I tried to cancel out the 5s, I would be left with this, 2 plus 1 on top and 5 plus 3 on the bottom. What does that equal? Well, that's 3/8. Okay, well, 3/8 does not equal 11 28ths. So you can just see from this example that you can't always just cancel these common factors unless the top and the bottom are completely factored and there's no adding or subtracting happening on either one of those. So it's not so simple as just canceling those out right here. But we can manipulate this expression a little bit using just the same things we've done before, the distributive property. Let me use the distributive property here to rewrite the top, and I'll use some people like to call it FOIL, but it's also an example of the distributive property. If I multiply these two factors together, I get 2x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 3, and of course I still have that minus 1 on the end. So this was from the distributive property. Okay? Now I can combine like terms and I get 2x plus 4 divided by 2x squared plus 5x minus 1. I'm sorry, that's a plus 2. Got to combine the plus 3 and the minus 1. Plus 2. Okay? So let me go in this direction here, and I'm going to factor the top. There's a common factor in both of those terms, so I can factor that out. And I'm going to factor the bottom, whatever technique you want to use for factoring that quadratic. It's not too hard. There's my quadratic. All right, so I factored. Now you might see, oh, now we've got two factors on top, 2 factors on bottom. We can just cancel the x plus 2, which we could, but before I do that, I just want to think about this for a second and just notice that x cannot equal negative 1/2 or negative 2. And the reason is because those two values of x make the bottom of this rational expression equal to 0, then I would be dividing by 0. That's undefined. So I do that first before I cancel those factors, because now that I've canceled them, I'm left with this expression. I definitely have this original rational expression in its simplest terms here, but it's important for me to identify the values of x that are not allowed because they cause the original rational expression to be equal to be undefined. So if I just cancel these out first and I'm just left with this, I'll only find one of the values of x that cause this simplified expression to be undefined. But I need to account for the one that I canceled also. So that's the solution to this problem right here.